Good evening and welcome to In the Public Interest. I'm your host, Jacque Howard. You are listening to us live over WIMG 1300 AM and also over the internet, WIMG1300.com. And if you're watching over television, it's via WZBN Channel 25, Mercer County, New Jersey. Today I have a good friend who is going to be spending some time with us, Jim Simon from the Isles Organization. Jim, welcome to the program.
Great, thank you, Jacque.
All right, and today we're going to be speaking specifically about urban agriculture and some of the different things that the Isles Organization is doing pertaining to sustainability, self-reliance, etc. With urban agriculture. But to get started, we're going to talk a little bit about Jim. And Jim, what brought you to the East Coast?
Well, I moved to Philadelphia so my wife can go to graduate school.
Okay, and she went to graduate school where?
Tyler School of Art.
Okay.
It's part of Temple University.
That's right. We're always trying to big up the artists on this program. And you all know that my thoughts about art is that art is the regeneration for city, an opportunity for post-industrial cities to invite artists in and to consider that is a movement for, just restructuring cities. And I like to use Richmond, Virginia as a example. So Jim, what's your schooling and your background like?
Well, I grew up on a farm in Nebraska, so it was a
corn husker in the house.
Yep, working farm. So corn, alfalfa, soybeans, cows, ducks, chickens, the whole bit.
All right, great. So what better way for you to revisit your Nebraska days to come to New Jersey and work with an organization like Isles and be the manager of the urban agricultural program?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just a different change of setting. It's same kind of problem solving and ways to approach it. You're just in urban setting rather than a rural one.
Mm-hmm. So let's jump right into the urban agricultural portion of it. So can you just explain to folks who are in the listening and viewing audience, what is urban ag, the acronym, or urban agriculture? What is that?
Urban agriculture can be any agricultural activities in a city. It can be community gardens, it could be backyard gardens, it can be commercial enterprises, urban farms that are raising food and selling it for money. It's kind of the whole amalgamation of those different things.
Mm-hmm. So for the most part, it's anything to do with agriculture, growing anything in an urban setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And you and I, excuse me, you and I have, we've worked together on several different projects pertaining to urban ag. But for the listening audience who, when they think of fresh fruit or vegetables, their first thought is, okay, I have to go to the store to buy it, or I have to go to a market or something to buy it. They don't think about, hey, I could grow something in my house or in my backyard, regardless of the size. Mm-hmm. We were talking earlier to our producer Fred, and he was talking about his location. So what can someone do? Some of the options that someone can use regarding growing, like say, fruits and vegetables in a small space.
In a small space, you can grow in your backyard, whether you're growing in the ground. I always recommend people start in a flexible way or, kind of low risk way. You can start growing in containers. Mm-hmm. People grow lettuce in shallow pots. You can grow tomatoes in 5-gallon buckets. There's all different ways to do it.
That's great. So, so regarding the Isles Organization and the different ideas about urban ag and how we can grow, regardless of the space that we have, mm-hmm. That's going to lead me into the community gardens portion. Can you tell me a little bit about that program?
Sure. We support approximately 25 community gardens in the city, and they range in size from 3/4 of an acre to gardens maybe the size of this table. So they kind of come in all shapes and sizes.
Mm-hmm. And this table's about a 4x4 size?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We can call that a garden. So
awesome.
that's a way to start it.
Mm-hmm.
And a good number of them are on municipal property. So the history of the program has gone back over 30 years. So we started working with members of the community to identify vacant property in their neighborhood, help them clean it up, and help them start gardens there. So we have many gardens that have been in the program for that long. Our largest and one of our oldest ones, if not the oldest, is on Chestnut Avenue near the train station, and that's the one that's on 3/4 of an acre. And we've got crops from all over the world. We've got people of all ethnic backgrounds. So it's a nice, real kind of democratic garden there, and because it's large and it has you know, a good number of people involved, it's fairly sustainable. So sometimes when you have smaller gardens that are, the train is really driven by one person, if that person, you know, passes away or moves on, a lot of times the gardens can, you know, they can fail or just, you know, gradually fade away. So that's one thing we're looking for, is trying to get enough people interested to make sure that the gardens are sustained. You know, for every garden that we may start, another one could fall off the map. There's a big generational gap. A lot of our community gardeners that have been with us for so long, they come from agricultural backgrounds or from the time when people were you know, growing food. You know, this is nothing new. People have been growing their own food for centuries. In World War II, we had the victory gardens where people were growing for themselves, but then also to support the war effort. So there's no reason that, you know, everybody cannot do this again. So we want to try to, you know, keep that history and keep that alive for everyone.
Okay, so regarding the community gardens that Isles has, you said there's approximately 25 of them. Where are they located, and not specifically, but are they all located in one particular area or throughout the different wards?
They're all over the city, so they're in just about every ward that I can think of.
So if someone people in different wards can go to a local space that's an Isles garden, if there's space as far as you know, being involved in a program, and then sign up locally.
Yeah, they can contact us, and you know, we help start the gardens and we provide technical assistance, but we don't really run the gardens. We help them you know, get water from the city if available. We help them secure leases, but we kind of stay out of the operation of the day-to-day garden. We help them elect a head gardener, and that person, you know, kind of runs the show from there. So, you know, we have kind of a limited staff, so it's impossible to, you know, to manage all these different things. So we really look for people to be self-reliant, which is, you know, one of Isles' hallmarks of teaching people those things, to, you know, take the garden and be able to manage it themselves.
Excuse me, Jim. So how could the listeners and viewing audience get in contact with the Urban Agriculture Program through the Isles organization? How could they do that?
You could reach us through website. We have a lot of information there about the program, also via phone. And we'll probably be doing our kickoff meetings early in the spring. We may be even doing some this fall, just to try to reach people. You know, one of the critical things for us is trying to place people in the gardens that are completely vacant. You know, some gardens have waiting lists, but you know, there's a few gardens which are wide open that we're really trying to find people in the community to take under their wing.
So what's the contact information specifically?
Our website is www.isles.org. It's ISLES. Or our phone number is area code 609-341-4700.
All right, and for those of you, again, it's on the web, Isles, ISLES.org, and via telephone 609-341-4700. And I always like to tell folks, you can simply just go and Google Isles. Google Isles and community gardens, and the information will pop right up. Big up to my good friend Marty Johnson and Liz Johnson. We recently celebrated the 30-year anniversary of the organization, and spent some time with some wonderful supporters of the organization at a golf outing yesterday at Springdale Country Club up in Princeton University. So thank you very much for all the supporters out there as well. Again, you're listening to In the Public Interest, and this is WIMG 1300 AM, and via television it's WZBN Channel 25, and over the internet, WIMG1300.com. Speaking with Jim Simon of the Isles organization. Jim is the program manager for the Urban Agriculture Program. We've been talking about community gardens, and Jim, when everyone hears gardens and you say community gardens, could you just clarify exactly what that is? I know you touched on it a little bit, but can you just clarify what's the difference between a community garden, a share garden, etc.?
Well, a community garden is, you know, whether it's on public, private, or not, it's there for the public. You know, we have a lot of community gardens which are on church grounds, or other nonprofits host gardens on their site, but it's a place for people to come together. You know, people often say that the most important word in, you know, the phrase community garden, it's not garden, it's community. So it's really about people coming together and sharing in the food and just being able to connect with each other.
That's awesome. And so the Share Gardens, that is similar to the project that you worked with Urban Mission Cabinet Inc. and David Byers, landscape architect at the Bethany House of Hospitality, the Share Garden in partnership with the Crisis Ministry and the Isles Organization, where more than 50% of what's grown there is distributed to the local community through different programs. Ours at the Bethany House of Hospitality Community Garden happens to go through the Crisis Ministry's food service program, but we're looking forward to expanding that location and maybe having some community gardening space there, as well as growing vertically, thanks to an I Am Trenton grant. And in addition to that, it provides an opportunity, if it's designed right, where it can be a social gathering place, where some educational programs can take place. And when we think about educational programs, we always have to think about the school gardens. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. This year we've had gardens at many different schools in Trenton in the area. This year I think we have about between 8 and 10 active schools, and again those range in size. Some are limited by space, so they just have raised beds that may be all the room they have for them, or maybe that's all that they can manage. Some have a lot larger ones. Our Youth Build High School near the Battle Monument, we actually have a 1/4 acre garden that we put in there, so that's probably the biggest one that we work with. But again, they come in all shapes and sizes. We have one at Washington Elementary, which was basically put in on blacktop. There's not a whole lot of green space at the school, so a garden was put in there with raised beds, a nice pergola, and wood chips were brought in to cover the blacktop surface. So there's a lot of creative ways that you can create gardens, whether it's at a school or in your own backyard.
Excellent. Jim, we'll get back to that after the break. We're up on a break here. So you're listening to In the Public Interest. I'm your host, Jacque Howard. I've been speaking with Jim Simon, who is the program manager for the Isles Urban Agricultural Program. You're watching over WZBN Channel 25 in Mercer County, and you're listening live over WIMG 1300 AM and over the internet, WIMG1300.com.
Why spend more than you have to on your life insurance? Did you know that term life insurance rates have fallen over 60% in the last 15 years? At the Life Insurance Quote Line, we monitor the rates, features, and financial strength of hundreds of life insurance products. For example, a healthy 40-year-old can protect his family with $500,000 of 10-year level term for less than $20 a month. Rates for women are even lower. And don't forget to ask us about the new term life policies that guarantee your money back even if you don't die. Since 1986, we've helped tens of thousands of people just like you save a fortune on their life insurance. Why not find out how much you can save? Write down this number and call today for your free quote. One 5-minute call is all it takes. Call 800-610-3497. 800-610-3497. That's 800-610-3497. Rates, policy forms, and availability vary by state.
And welcome back to In the Public Interest. I am your host, Jacque Howard. You're listening live over WIMG 1300 AM, over the internet at WIMG1300.com, and if you're watching over television, it's via WZBN Channel 25 in Mercer County. We've been speaking or interviewing Jim Simon, who is the program manager at the Isles Organization for the Urban Agricultural Program. And just before the break, we started jumping into the conversation about school gardens. So Jim, along the same lines of the school gardens, I'd like to think about the school gardens and the education that goes along with that, and the different funders who are looking at like how we fight this childhood obesity issue. Can you also talk about the food access, as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. Food access, that's a big issue in all communities, but especially in Trenton. There's not a lot of grocery stores, and a lot of the other local bodegas or other small corner stores, they may not offer fresh and healthy food. So being able to raise food yourself, or even if you can't, And there's a lot of other organizations kind of working on this problem collectively. So community gardeners, gardening is about sharing. You know, you always have an abundance, so they may not be gardening just for themselves, but to feed informally people in the neighborhood. So if they have excess, you know, they give it out. Some distribute it through their churches. Some, you know, contact me, and I can help connect them with food pantries like the Crisis Ministry. That's one place where we donate a lot of excess food from, you know, our gardens, or if we're, you know, maintaining school gardens in the summer. So.
Okay, so when we think about the food access and looking at the school gardens, and again fighting the childhood obesity issue and re-educating the youngsters, what kind of programming does ISLES do as far as teaching, you know, young adults or the youth?
Well, we work hands-on with the classes and teachers, so, and it kind of depends on the school and also, you know, the age of the kids involved. So we may go do hands-on planting with the kindergartners so they can do a lettuce party in the spring. We may, you know, do more work with high school students about, you know, season extension, trying to grow your crops, you know, later in the winter. You know, even the grade school kids, we've worked with them into December before, you know, harvesting broccoli or greens just by covering them.
So if some young adults, like in high school, if they were thinking about urban agriculture, is that an actual marketplace and an opportunity for young people to look at a career?
Yeah, we would like to develop more opportunities. You know, our youth build high school, it's a school garden, but we're actually, you know, training them in, you know, landscaping, food production. So trying to create some opportunities for them, even if it's working at a nursery or local farm, or, you know, say urban farms are being developed, that would be an opportunity for them.
That's awesome how everything's getting all tied together, not only with what we need, meaning food, but also an opportunity to teach someone and educate someone, and for them to create their own successful path for life.
And we also work with a lot of local farms. So part of what we do at the, you know, Youth Build High School with the garden, they're working in the garden, you know, next to the school themselves. So we take them on field trips to local farms, to greenhouses, so they can kind of see, okay, all right, here are, I can imagine, you know, where they can say, I can imagine myself in this type of career, working in a greenhouse or selling produce at a farm stand, and making those kind of professional connections for them.
Okay. Now, I want to touch a little bit on the challenge areas of urban agriculture, because there's always going to be the people in the audience who say, you know, I can't grow anything. You know, I want to get involved, I want to help out, but, you know, I don't like the bugs and all these other things. What are some of the challenge areas that you see within the program?
Well, there's the challenges that people growing food the world over face, whether it's weather, it's pests. You know, this year we've had a pretty good year, but we've had, you know, pretty dry years. Last year we had too much weather, so, you know, you may be growing the same set of crops one year versus the next, but have a totally different outcome. So it's just trying to be, you know, solve the problems before they get out of hand, and be adaptable. Instead of growing, all right, I'm just going to grow peas this year, you know, you may try to grow 10 different types of things. You know, I usually say gardening is inherently about failure. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, but you know, there's sometimes I fail miserably each year on a particular thing. You know, maybe it's through no fault of my own. It's because of a particular, you know, weather problem or pest problem or timing problem. But just by, you know, kind of spreading your risk, you know, extending the season, doing succession plantings, for the most part, you have a pretty good outcome if you approach it that way.
So again, it's about the diversity, like, and trying things. There's nothing wrong with failure. Just get back up and try it again. In some of the community gardens and community spaces that ISLES has, and I know you mentioned that it's a very diverse crop that's grown. Just rattle off some of the non-traditional things besides, you know, the different varieties of tomatoes and peppers and so forth that we have. But what are some of the other things that are growing locally here in the Trenton area?
There's a lot of we have a few gardeners from Bangladesh or South Asia, so they're growing, kind of long gourds, long beans, different types of greens as well.
Kohlrabi.
Kohlrabi, that's a good one.
Okay. I know Swiss chard has been something that Westminster and the Bethany House Garden have. We've had an abundance of Swiss chard,
and that's very reliable. It's it's almost pest proof, and it can produce a good amount of the year. So just trying to expand your repertoire of the things you plant, and you might stumble upon something that you're really good at growing, or something that grows really well in your backyard or your local area.
Good. And again, you're listening to In the Public Interest on WIMG 1300 AM, WIMG1300.com, and via television WZBN, Channel 25 in Mercer County, New Jersey. I'm speaking with Jim Simon, the program manager of the Isles Organization's Urban Agricultural Program. Jim Simon and the organization can be reached via the internet website, Isles, ISLES.org. And also the main telephone number there is 609-341-4700. And again, this is Jim Simon, who I've been speaking with. And we've been talking about lots of different factors with community gardens and school gardens and share gardens and so forth, and even touched a little bit on some of the challenge areas. And it's important for people to realize that, as always with everything, get in the game. Figure out how you can help out. They can volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers who want to jump in, regardless of your level of experience, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. In addition to that, the people who like to write checks or have the ability, we always can use funding. If you're a organization, if you're a farm, if you're a retailer, and you want to do some partnering, we're always up for that as well. And again, it's ISLES, ISLES.org, 609-341-4700. And specifically, one of the programs that I'm working with, along with Isles and the Crisis Ministry, via Urban Mission Cabinet, Inc., you can reach out to me at 609-433-0489 or email Trenton350 Jacque, Jacque, at gmail.com. So Jim, before we finish up the program, what do you see as far as the future of urban agriculture as a whole, like globally? That, and also specifically for Trenton, where are we as a city with our potential for urban ag?
I think there's a tremendous opportunity. I would envision a relocalization of the food system. Imagine the way the food system was before, say, World War II. Where your food didn't travel from 1,000 miles away. You got your eggs from a farm around the corner. You may have grown a portion of the produce in your backyard. You knew the people who were growing your food. With the price of fuel going up, and also one of the related things, we're growing a lot of corn right now, basically to make ethanol. So a lot of the food we're growing is not going into our stomachs; it's going into our fuel tanks. And with the horrible drought in the Midwest this summer, prices of corn are going to go up. Also, feed corn, so you can probably expect your price of beef or other things to grow as well. So I think people are going to respond more to saving money by growing it themselves, or by reaching out to local farms or local providers for these things. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity.
Now, regarding the local farms, I travel quite a bit throughout the county. How close are some farms? Just rattle off, maybe not the names, but where people can actually find local farms.
Probably about 5 miles away. There's Turkey Farm. There's people growing strawberries. Not far at all. And a lot of farmers, they come to the Trenton Farmers Market, other places as well. We operate a CSA, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture, out of our Youth Build High School. People basically buy shares of a farm up front, so that helps a farmer buy equipment, pay staff, pay for seeds. We created this as a way to basically create jobs for the Youth Build students. So people get a basket of produce each week from first week of June through the last week of November. And that money goes directly to paying for positions for youth build students or graduates of the program. And in turn, those students, they're learning about agriculture, but then they also help with the school and community garden work. So we're really kind of creating stewards in that sense. So we're educating a new generation of citizens to take on these sort of endeavors.
That's fantastic. Again, you can go to the ISLES organization website. It's isles.org. And you can also call them. The main number is 609-341-4700. Jim Simon has been my guest tonight. And we've been talking about lots of different things. The 30 minutes goes by very quickly, just talking about different things regarding urban agriculture. We have a need, and we have a need for food, and we all have to recognize that, if you want to battle the issue with obesity, whether it's child or adult, or diabetes or anything else, and we're going to have to figure out exactly what we're doing as far as our food sourcing goes. There's lots of opportunities in this area for people to get involved. If you've got a 4x4 plot of land, like Jim just said, regarding this desk, we can do something as far as putting a garden together. There's lots of resources on the internet. But literally, you've got an opportunity right here in Trenton, New Jersey. You've got a organization, the ISLES organization, that has 30 years experience in community gardening and urban agriculture, and you've got a wonderful personality like yourself, Jim, who's willing to help. And we just need some people to get involved and say, hey, look, I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to run with it. So you've been listening to In the Public Interest on WIMG 1300 AM. I'm your host, Jacque Howard. You can find us also on the internet at WIMG1300.com and via television at WZVN Channel 25 in Mercer County. Good night.